can't scale chaos and you can't scale a team that is underperforming. Sometimes it feels like the whole world is crashing down around you, where people are quitting, people are leaving. When you get the right team around you, it feels like paradise. Every business has some dumpster fires going on. So you're eventually going to have to break through that and get over that fear. Welcome back to another episode of My Dental Playbook. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. Along with my friend Dr. Blake Hamblin, we're going to be diving deep into his office and how he's doubled his collections in just under 12 months. We're also going to be talking about his journey to a $10 million practice and what he needs to do to get there. You're going to see behind the curtain, and Dr. Blake is amazing at sharing the hard details that you need to know so you can do the same too. If you want to grow, this is the show for you. Stay tuned. All right, we are live for another episode, and today we got a good one for you: how to attract and retain A players. And we got a bonus for you down below on running your ads to attract the right kind of people. It's a process, so if you want that, you can access that down below. Also, if you haven't checked out our website in a while, go do that, because there's a ton of free resources there. There's also a free course if you want to go out and network there. And we also have a mastermind there as well. So a ton of resources for you to grow your practice and get what you want. And it's either free or super duper cheap. So make sure you go check those out. But let's talk about this topic of how to attract and retain A players, because really, honestly, you can't grow if you don't have a good team. And if you try to grow, it's just going to fall apart on you. You can't scale chaos and you can't scale a team that is underperforming. So how do you do this? And I know as a business owner myself, I'll just be vulnerable here. Sometimes it feels like the whole world is crashing down around you, where people are quitting, people are leaving, and just it's like, who's going to do all this work? And the patients are all going to leave my practice. And when you get the right team around you, it feels like paradise. Like everything feels really good, right? So how do you start working on this process? So we're going to do this in two forms. We're going to do how to attract the right people, and then how to retain the right people. And we're talking about A players. We're talking about the best in the dental industry. And Dr. Blake, I know this is something you've done and that you're working on constantly in each department. So let's first step of attracting the right kind of people. It's marketing to attract them and making sure that you have the right brand out there, just like marketing for new patients. And something that you said is you use the pain, process, paradise format. So could you walk us through a little bit of that?
Of course. So it's not uncommon for most job descriptions, especially for front office team members, for hygienists, for assistants, to very much look the same. The only real difference, and we've all been there, is we can pay you more, or we have health insurance, or otherwise. And so what I've started playing with and using, and I feel like we've had good success with, is presenting what the pain is that the employee has faced in their previous office. So are you tired of being in a toxic environment that has gossip and just bad juju, bad vibes in your office? And then we go to the process. Here at Hamblin Family Dentistry, we protect our culture like it's our baby. And then paradise. When you're on our team, you're a part of our family, and we grow with you as you grow. So we walk through, what is that pain? What is the process that we uniquely created within our organization? And then what does that paradise look like for them on the other side? So that when that person's reading that ad copy for the position, they can put themselves into the future. They can see the future all of a sudden and say, you know what, this is a place. This is very different than all the other ads that I've read for people that are looking for a dental assistant. Let me try this place out. See if I can be a good fit for that.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen people who are like, man, I'm paying more than everybody in my market, and I didn't get one application. And that tells you something, because that doesn't mean there's nobody there. It means they don't want to work for you. And it's because you didn't frame it properly. So that's super important. And again, if you want that process that Dr. Blake uses and the actual ad copy that he's using, it's right down below. You can use it for every position. It works really well, and it will get the right people into your chair. It's just simple marketing and branding of your practice.
Yeah. And a simple hack for that too is you can take that and you can plug it into ChatGPT and totally remake it for any other position. If you just tell it, hey, these are the things we're looking for. This is how we feel we're different. and use it as a framework, you can use it pretty much for any position.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So check that out down below. And then the next one, we actually did an old podcast on this one, the interviewing process. So we'll link that down below as well. You can go watch the whole thing. But interviews are really important. And the one thing that I've realized about interviews, it's just like podcasting. How do you get good at podcasting? By doing a boatload of podcasts. Well, interviews are exactly the same. If you want to get good at interviews and be able to identify who an A player is versus who's not, you have to do a lot of interviews. And I've seen where people do maybe one interview and they're like, oh, I guess we'll hire that person. They seem pretty cool. I've done that before too. Like early on, I was like, oh, cool, you're breathing and you want to work with me? That's awesome. You're hired. And then I'm like, what was I like? I didn't ask any good questions. But the reason I hired them is I didn't have anybody to compare them against. If I would have done 10 interviews, I would have been like, that's an A player, that's a B player, that's a C player. And so reps are super important. But tell me a little bit about your process, because I know you do this differently than most dentists.
Yeah, just briefly, we basically just do a very quick phone interview or like a Zoom interview, no more than 5 or 10 minutes on the phone. And my team handles that. They see if they would potentially even be a good fit. If they are a good fit, they come in for an in-person interview to where we get to know one another and really see what are their nonverbal skills. Like, how do they sit in the chair? How do they interact with other people that walk into the room? Different things like that. And then sometimes we'll even that last round will be going to lunch or dinner or something with the applicant, just to see, like, are they really part of our future, or are they not? And so a lot of those steps I'm very much uninvolved with, up until the point that we have to make a decision on, is this the right person or not? Of which I'll walk in and briefly meet them, and quickly I know if they've got the it factor.
Yeah. And that leads into the next point, is a culture fit. And again, if you want to get more information on the interview, right down below, there's a whole podcast on that. Dr. Blake gives the whole process. So we're not going to dive deep into that today, but I want to talk about how you tell the right culture fit. And this is really important. And also, you have to remember, every position's different. Like, a dentist has to be a different kind of culture than a dental assistant or a hygienist or a front desk or billing or whatever it may be. I'll give you a good example. In our company, our company has really low employee churn, except for one position. And guess what position it is? It's the ones that deal with the dentist all day. And those, the highest churn rate by like a multiple of a lot, right? And why? Because it's stressful, because dentists are stressed. They're running a business, and then they're having to deal with that stress, and it creates a lot of friction, and we got to hit goals, and they need to figure things out. So that's our highest churn. So we need people, when we hire for that position, I need to know that they already know how to work with dentists. I've made the mistake in the past where I bring somebody in who was a good culture fit, but they were not the good culture fit for that position because they've never worked with dentists, and they weren't prepared for the the TLC that they got from the accounts. And so we look for people in that position that have experience with dentists. How do you think through the culture fit and then the different positions?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our decisions run through our core values. So, do you have a commitment to excellence? Do you have extreme ownership in what you do? Do you have, are you innovative in how you think and live life? So, like, if a problem comes up, are you just going to throw your hands up and say, I don't know? Or are you going to get creative and see how you might be able to solve that problem? And so we'll just walk through different scenarios with people and ask them in the past, how have you handled X, Y, or Z thing? And it becomes very clear when you have 5 or 6 guiding principles that run your organization. And when you can very tactfully ask some questions surrounding those to the applicant and say, how would you handle this situation? Have you been in this experience before? What have you done? It becomes very clear what they do.
That's how you attract an A player. But we all know attracting them is only part of the game. Then you have to keep them there. And I know for me as a business owner, sometimes in the past, I used to get scared because I was like, I'm going to hire someone really good, and I'm worried that they're going to think my company is like absolutely trash. And and there was some truth to that, right? There was some dumpster fires going on. But guess what? every business has some dumpster fires going on. So you're eventually going to have to break through that and get over that fear. And the first way to do that and to control a lot of that is to have one-on-ones. Now, again, this topic, we've already did a 30-minute podcast on just one-on-ones. So the link for that is down below. But do you have anything you want to add about one-on-ones, about keeping A players and having one-on-ones with them, or your team having one-on-ones with them?
I think it's just incredibly important. Just doing it and having the cadence of being willing to have discussions with your team, it says a lot, and it sets the tone for what the relationship will look like as the time goes on. So if you can lead with that instead of trying to save the relationship with one-on-ones later and having these reprimands and these conversations later on, you can lead with, hey, how are things going? Oh, you don't understand this. There's omission and commission, and we can talk about things that are missing or part of your experience or that you're choosing to do that are impacting the outcomes that you're getting.
I love that. And the honest truth is, it's kind of like having a dirty closet. Like, you're going to learn about the dirty closets in your business by having these one-on-ones. It's not that the closets aren't dirty if you ignore them. They're still dirty, right? Like, you're just going to learn about it and actually be able to fix it. So I know it's scary, but you got to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and just go move forward with that. And again, that full podcast is down below. And then the one thing that I love is you said team support, and then especially around expectations and mistakes. And again, this is one that I really struggled with early on, but now I've gotten better with it is, hey, you're going to make mistakes and that's okay. And when they make mistakes, hey, this is a great learning opportunity. But getting your whole team to do that is a different story. So how do you talk through that with your team and get them to support the new players coming in?
Yeah. So, when you bring on new team members, they're going to make what will seem very like simple tasks will get messed up, and things that should flow really well will not happen. And so your team has two choices. They can either sit there and say, oh, why'd we hire this person? And they can't figure it out. Or they can understand that they once too were in that same position, and they had a loving friend or coworker come along and teach them how to do those things. And so that's one thing that we try to do is make sure that when we do have a new hire, that we put a partner with them to help them, especially in those first couple of weeks, to really help and guide and shape and mold. And they don't always do it perfect, but there's a lot of things that get picked up just even by osmosis of watching this other person and hearing how they talk. So then they learn how our office talks to patients, seeing how they interact with patients. Then they pick up all these little things. It's just kind of a long way of creating a culture that, one of our core values is servanthood. And so like, how can we serve each other as well?
I love that. Okay. And then the last and probably most important is making sure that you always have some growth path for them forward. What do you do there?
Yeah. So there's literally not a position in our office that can't grow financially. So all of their positions have a base hourly rate, and then they are tied strictly to KPIs that they have influence over. And so we can quite often post going back to the original discussion of how do you attract them. Like in our job post, we can put for a dental assistant that we'll pay them anywhere from $12 an hour to $35 an hour. And so it causes those A players, those people that like to see the upside, they see that and they're like, oh, here we go. Let's do this. And so everybody wants to be able to grow. Nobody wants to keep doing the same job for 35 years. They just don't. And so if they know that there's a cap, that's where you see people every 3 to 5 years move positions, is because they know that they can't go any higher. And so if they can always constantly be evolving, and sometimes in dentistry that may mean that they evolve out of your office, and that's okay, because you've left them better than you found them, and they grew into something that maybe your group or your organization doesn't need anymore, but you help develop them as a human. And to me, that feels like a win.
It's huge. Yeah. That's another hard thing about being a business owner is like, especially if you're working like with an associate, I'd imagine that you already know that they're going to be an entrepreneur. Like you already see it, and you only get them for a little bit of time. And so you kind of have to realize that the super A players are going to graduate, like more than likely, unless you make them a business partner or something like that. So I absolutely love that mindset and always having that room to grow. And I know doctors don't like giving bonuses. I know a lot of business owners are that way. Like, I'm already paying you for the job. Why don't you want me to double pay you for the job? However, when you have bonuses, it actually motivates people in a certain direction to get a certain outcome. And it also reduces the raise talk because people are like, oh, I can go get more money if I just work a little bit harder in these areas.
Yeah, well, and maybe that can be a future podcast, is I think people don't like giving out bonuses because their bonus structure isn't set up to actually benefit the business, or it's only set up to hurt the business. So if it's set up in the right way, then you can actually be excited about getting those bonuses, if you can be pumped about it. And so I think that's a product of our own destruction and how we set things up versus what could be.
Amazing. Love it. Great topic today. If you want the bonus podcast, comment down below if we should do a whole show on that. Dr. Blake, as always, you crush it. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and the do's and the don'ts along the way.
You got it.
Peace.